Hey there, metalheads, prog lovers, and jazz freaks. You have reached What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. Thanks for joining us here on another episode of all the best in the genres that we covered that we just mentioned. We've got a lot in store for you today. Here we are on the last day of September here in 2016. So let's get started, shall we? So we've got a lot to cover, like I just mentioned. So we're going to start our featured CD of the week. Is none other than the latest from American progressive rock legends Kansas, who have their first new studio album of all new material in quite a long time. I believe it's 15 years, thereabouts. It's called The Prelude Implicit. That's it right there. And, basically if you've been following Kansas for, the last year and a half, you're probably fully aware that founding vocalist Steve Walsh retired from the band in 2014. They have since gotten a new singer. His name is Ronnie Platt. Very fine singer indeed. He joins original drummer Phil Eathart, as well as original guitar player Rich Williams. We've also got, of course, David Ragsdale on violin, who's been kind of with the band for a while. Billy Greer on bass and backing vocals, also been with the band a long time, since the mid-late 80s as well. They're joined by keyboard player David Mannion, as well as guitarist and songwriter Zach Rizvi. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. Zach was kind of helping the band out with writing some songs as well as production. They decided to bring him on board as a full-time member. So now they're back to the two lead guitarists. They've got, a full-time keyboard player, as well as Ronnie also plays keyboards as well. So how is the album? Well, you're hearing in the background here, if you can check that out a bit. It's vintage sounding Kansas. It's really, really good stuff. You got, a couple long tunes on here. You got some soaring violin, crunchy guitars. The vocals are great. Rhythm in the Spirit, Voyage of the 818, Visibility Zero, Section 60, great instrumental, Crowded Isolation, Summer, Camouflage. All really good stuff. Vocals are fantastic. It's got the rich instrumentation that we've grown to love from Kansas. As far as like a prog release this year, it's going to be hard to top this one, from a legacy band. And it's really good to hear Kansas playing new original music again. And the even cooler thing is, there's no disrespect to Steve Walsh. Come on, he was great. But, the problem with Steve over the last decade or so is that, he was having problems with the voice, and he couldn't sing a lot of that classic material other than the kind of hits that they've always been playing. So there's a lot of, great, deep album cuts from the Kansas canon that, he just basically couldn't sing anymore. Ronnie, on the other hand, can sing it all. All right? He's not a Steve Walsh sound-alike. There's some similarities, but he's got his own style. But, if you go see them live, I got a chance to see them live last year with this lineup. They're digging out a lot of classics, a lot of prog classics from, days gone by. So if you go check them out on tour right now, it's the 40th anniversary of Left Overture. They're playing the entire album, plus some selections from this, plus other cool songs from their catalog. So the Prelude Implicit, highly recommended it. Yeah, as you can see, I'm a total geek. I went and ordered from the band directly, got the package with the t-shirt and the CD, the 2 bonus tracks, as well as the lanyard. So pretty cool. So check that out. All right. Also brand new from another veteran band, Sweden's Evergrey, The Storm Within. Okay, out on AFM Records. So, Tom Englund and company. You gotta love these guys. They're a mix of dark, emotional, gothic, progressive, and power metal. They've got a long catalog of really, really solid albums. Many of them are great. This is another one. It's just more of the same. You got Englund's really unique, unmistakable vocals. You've got these haunting melodies, heavy guitars, plenty of keyboards, just melodies that are just addicting from the minute you listen to them. But, not the most upbeat and happy stuff in the world. Most of their stuff is kind of serious, kind of somber, but still, very exciting, very aggressive, heavy. It's progressive. I dig it. Another really strong album from Sweden's Evergrey. So we're going to come back to the U.S. here, kind of a super group of sorts. They've been around for a few years. This is their third album. They're called Charred Walls of the Damned. Creatures Watching Over the Dead is their latest release for Metal Blade. You know, so you got Tim Ripper Owens on guitar. Let me get you the whole lineup. I mean, Tim Ripper Owens on vocals. What am I talking about? You know, and drums, Richard Christie, ex-Iced Earth, obviously. You've got Jason Sukoff on guitars and Steve DiGiorgio on bass. You know, Steve's played with everybody, you know, from Testament and so on and so forth. These guys are extremely solid. You know, when you got a legacy of folks who have played with, you know, Iced Earth and Death and Testament, Control Denied, you know, and countless other bands, you know, Ingrid Malmsteen, Judas Priest, obviously, these guys have been around. So, really good quality. You know, not terribly different from the two albums that came before it. I would say this one is a little more melodic, slightly less heavy, you know, maybe, not really sure. Very similar to the other two albums. High quality, really, really good, you know, classic metal, power metal, progressive metal. Ripper's vocals are outstanding. You know, Christie's drum work off the charts. Sukoff, killer riffs, lots of good solos. DiGiorgio, you know, his great bass playing. So, again, what can you say? It's just really, really good. You know, like I said, is it leagues better than their first two? It's just more of the same. Really good stuff. I dig it. All right, so live album. Switching over to going down to Texas. Classic rock, southern rock, hard rock, whatever you want to call these guys. They're legends. ZZ Top, Tonight at Midnight. It's like a live compilation of live tracks from their most recent tour from around the world. So, you know, you got Me Under Pressure, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, Cheap Sunglasses, Waiting for the Bus, Jesus Just Left Chicago, Legs, Sharp Dressed Man, Rough Boy, Pincushion, LaGrange, I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide, Tube Snake Boogie, Give Me All Your Lovin', Tush, and 16 Tons. You got Jeff Beck guesting on guitar on 2 tracks, which is kind of cool. You know, it's good, raunchy, Texas-style, Southern fried, ZZ Top power trio rock and roll. Billy Gibbons is the freaking man as far as I'm concerned. His guitar work is all over here. I dig it. I love ZZ Top. So, anyway, check it out if you're a fan. If you're not, shame on you. All right, so some of you noticed that BMG has kind of resurrected the Noise label of artists, or I should say the classic Noise label recordings from the 80s and early 90s. So one of the bands that was a mainstay on the Noise label back then is German thrash juggernaut's Creator. So they put together kind of a compilation of some of the best material from their Noise releases. It's called Love Us or Hate Us, the very best of the Noise years, 85 to 92. The version that we were given to review is a single disc compilation. Mostly what you'll see out there for sale is a double disc. I highly recommend that. You know, this is good, but it's missing a lot of shit. The double disc has got really good selection of tunes from all those classic mid-late 80s, early 90s Creator records. So, you know, just really, you got my dog is agreeing with that. So I highly recommend, if you don't have any of those old Noise LPs or CDs from back in the day, which, you know, I think they're re-releasing all of them, this is a really good compilation to pick up and get a flavor of all the old classic Creator stuff. All right, so we're going to go over to Angel Air Records, our buddies from the UK, who always release a lot of really good kind of stuff from the vaults on a lot of classic rock prog and whatnot. So we've got this great live recording from 1974 by prog act Greenslade, short-lived prog band formed by David Greenslade out of the ashes of Colosseum. It's called The Birthday Album, live in Switzerland, 1974. It happened to be Mr. Greenslade's birthday, and this is actually the last known recordings of that lineup of the band. So pretty cool. So you got lots of epic stuff on here, killer keyboard work, and you know, it's just really, really good. No, you need to be quiet, dude. So it's got to keep shooing her off. So anyway, this is just really, really good. Like I said, if you love 70s prog with lots of keyboards, no guitar here, folks. Really, really cool stuff. And then we're gonna stay on kind of UK prog. We've got Renaissance live, Fillmore West, 1970. This is the original lineup of Renaissance. Okay, so this is Keith Relf, after he left the Yardbirds, put together this band. He wanted to go into kind of like a classical meets folk direction. So, you know, he basically, hang on here, folks, I'll get you the full lineup. So it's Keith Relf and Jim McCarty from the Yardbirds. Keith's sister Jane, also on co-lead vocals, and you got Louis Sinamo on bass, and John Hawken, name most of you are familiar with, on keyboards. And you know, it's the full show they did. They, you know, were opening up at the Fillmore West, so you've got 4 lengthy tunes, songs that appeared on the band's first self-titled album, as well as a few bonus tracks and outtakes and things like that. So I dig it. You know, you can see or hear the seeds that were planted for when the band was completely overhauled with a new lineup just a year later. You know, Annie Haslam, Michael Dunford, and John Talbot crew. So you can hear, it's a kind of a mix of like kind of classical, psychedelic, folk sort of thing. You know, it's a little bizarre, okay, but you can hear some of the elements that eventually morphed into the Renaissance sound. So, good stuff. If you're a fan of Renaissance, or maybe only know the Annie Haslam era and want to check out, you know, kind of where they kind of started from. Pretty interesting. All right, so we got a few live releases and things like that. So we're going to go first, Johnny Winter and with guest Dr. John live in Sweden, 1987. We got the CD, we got the DVD. Pretty good stuff. You know, it was a film for German television. I'm sorry, Swedish television. And you got Sound the Bell, Don't Take Advantage of Me, Mojo Boogie, You Lie Too Much, Sugar Sweet, Love, Life, and Money, and Jumpin' Jack Flash, a pretty happening cover of the Rolling Stones classic. Johnny's in fine form. You know, at this point, he's still standing up, running around on stage. Got his Steinberger guitar, his old Firebird. Guitar playing's off the charts, as you can imagine. Dr. John joins for a couple tunes on piano and lead vocals. Basically the same thing you get on both. The DVD is noteworthy. There's a brief clip from 1972 of the Johnny Winter and Band doing Prodigal Son, but it's kind of in really bad quality, black and white. It's cut off, but it's kind of cool to see that, you know, Rick Derringer and him side by side. Very, very cool. So I recommend this if you're a Johnny Winter fan. I know there's loads of Johnny Winter live stuff out there, but well worth checking out. We're going to kind of stay on that kind of late 60s, early 70s classic blues rock type of thing. This is a wonderful documentary. It's called Janis Little Girl Blue. It was done last year. Great documentary on the kind of life and career of Janis Joplin. If you're all interested in Janis, this is a great, great film. Really, really enjoyable. It's got a lot of live footage from, you know, Woodstock and Monterey and all over the place. Studio footage, behind-the-scene footage, interviews with all sorts of people who are close to Janis, friends, bandmates, relatives, you know, management. Really good stuff. Recommend that. Blu-ray, Styx, live at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas from 2015. You know, this is really good. However, it's more of a, I'm not going to say it's a documentary, it's more like an interview with the band and management and their road crew about, you know, life on the road and all that kind of stuff, intermixed with maybe 80% of the actual concert that took place that night in Las Vegas. Which, in a way, is kind of strange because it almost like it makes the interview segments the priority here and not the live portion of it. Although you can go to the special features and watch all the live clips, but it's still missing like 3 or 4 songs from the original set because this was released on CD last year. So, you know, Grand Illusion is missing, as well as Come Sail Away, and I forget the other song, but it's like, I would have included the full set. Why can't you? You got plenty of room on Blu-ray. But regardless of that, spectacularly filmed, as you can imagine. The band is on fire, and the interviews are actually kind of cool to listen to. So, from Eagle Rock, you know, if you're a Styx fan, you got to have it, right? I'm going to go back to Styx in a minute, so. Okay, so now we're going to go to jazz. All right, this is a wonderful little DVD CD set from drum legend Steve Gadd and his band. It's called Way Back Home, live from Rochester, New York. He basically played a show at, recorded live in Rochester, June 2015, June 26th to be exact, at the Eastman School of Music during the Xerox Rochester International Jazz Festival. He actually went to college at the Eastman, and he grew up in the Rochester area, so basically he's playing in front of his home crowd, in front of students who obviously worship him, and he's just got a great band, which, you know, of course, Steve Gadd on drums. Hold on here. We got Walt Fowler, ex of Zappa, on trumpet and flugelhorn. We got Larry Goldings on keyboards, much-traveled keyboard player. Jimmy Johnson on bass. He's played with everybody. Holdsworth, you know, he's toured with Mike Stern. He's done it all. And Michael Landau on guitars, another guy who's played with everybody, done sessions for everybody. It's a great band. They basically play songs from the Steve Gadd Band's last couple studio albums, you know, in expanded formats. Got a couple cover tunes. They finish it off. Their last tune is Then Changes, you know, which was played by Jimi Hendrix and Band of Gypsies. And, you know, it's just really, really, the performances are great. The audiences love it every minute. It's great at the end. They give him a standing ovation. They sing Happy Birthday to Steve, and he's just, you know, all emotional. Really good stuff. So you got the concert on CD, most of it anyway. You got the full show on DVD, and then you got a bonus DVD of interviews with friends and family, fellow musicians, as well as the man himself. I highly recommend this if you're a jazz fan and you love Steve Gadd. So. Okay, lastly, as far as the new releases go, we've got from the Rock Palace series of releases. She likes this one. Tala likes this one. You've got Peter Hamel and the K Group live at Rock Palace, Hamburg, 1981. So, you know, at the time, Hamel kind of put Van der Graaf Generator for rest for a bit, or actually a little bit longer than a bit, and did a bunch of solo albums, then put together the K Group to kind of go out there and play some of that solo material live. He eventually did a couple studio albums with the K Group, as well as a couple Van der Graaf favorites, and really solid, you know, considering how old this show is from. The quality's pretty good, sounds pretty good, band's pretty on fire. You know, this is more of a hard rockin', slightly new wavy, punky thing with this band and Peter Hamel at that stage in his career, but I dig it. If you love his solo work, his work with Van der Graaf Generator, this is one to seek out, folks. Okay, last but not least, we're going to go to Forgotten Favorites, as always. So, as you recall, I said before, don't forget Styx. We're going to bring them back again. So, I happened to see Styx live at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie just a couple days ago, actually a week ago. And they played a great set. You know, band is still in peak form. They did close to 20 songs, just basically almost everything you'd want to hear. The hits, some deep album cuts, some of the FM hard rock staples, you know. I mean, you know it all. They played it all. It was really good. So I'm going to do a Forgotten Favorite. Actually going to do two of them today, and I happen to have a 2-on-1 CD. These are their third and fourth releases from 73 and 74. We've got The Serpent is Rising and Man of Miracles. I don't know if you can see that, but, you know, let's take a look at the covers a little closer up there. So that's the Man of Miracles album, and that is The Serpent is Rising. You know, so if you're like a kind of sort of casual fan, you probably aren't familiar with a lot of the songs on these albums, but I highly recommend getting them. You know, was there any hits on any of these as I go through? You know, not really. No. So, you know, but if you like great early, mid-70s hard rock with a bunch of prog, this is the way to go. You know, rock and roll feeling. Title track, Man of Miracles, great. We got The Serpent is Rising, Krakatoa, The Grove of Eglantine, I can never say that correctly. Witch Wolf, great song. Winner Take All. Song for Suzanne, Golden Lark, Having a Ball. You know, they kind of, style-wise, they go all over the place. There's some tunes got heavy Hammond organ, you know, crunchy guitars, kind of like Uriah Heep or Purple. Other tunes are almost like kind of like heavy Southern rock, and you got stuff that's straight prog with a little touch of classical, a little bit of jazz, some bluesy stuff, some kind of more like poppy type material. Great stuff on these two albums. You know, this is kind of before they started to get big. You know, Crystal Ball came shortly after this, and then of course we had Equinox, and then you had, you know, Grand Illusion, Pieces of Eight, you know, Cornerstone, Paradise Theater, Kilroy, all that kind of stuff. So if you've never kind of went back into the Styx catalog, and the first two are really good too, don't discount them, but I really like these a lot, because this was kind of like where they were just starting to find their groove and move on into the stuff that we all know and love from them. So anyway, that's my Forgotten Favorite, two albums that I love that probably a lot of you have never heard before, unless you're a big fan. So go check them out. Styx, Serpent is Rising, Man of Miracles. Two great Forgotten Favorites. So with that, I'm going to leave you. Once again, I am your host, Pete Pardo with Sea of Tranquility. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. And, of course, we're here a couple times a month on the mighty YouTube, bringing you, hopefully a video blog that gives you stuff to look out for. Tune in next week. We got even more cool stuff for next week. So, I didn't have enough room for today, but we've got, new Opeth is out today. We're going to talk about that next week. Just to give you a little kind of preview, we're also going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. And we're going to talk about this. New Opeth, other stuff. So tune in. We're also going to talk about this. I want to make sure you tune in next week. So till then, be safe. We'll catch up with you later. Bye-bye.